Are you looking for an athletic scholarship? You're in the right place. This is the Recruit Me Athletic Scholarship Podcast, the longest running podcast on recruiting and athletic scholarships. We're here to help your family navigate the recruiting road all the way to an athletic scholarship. He's a recruiting expert and a dad of a D1 athlete and a high school athlete pursuing a scholarship. With a wealth of experience to share, here's Recruit Me CEO Brent Hanks.
Welcome to episode 274 of the Athletic Scholarship Podcast. This episode is part 2 of an interview with a business owner, a head college coach, and the dad of a college baseball player. So if this is your first time listening, please go back and listen to episode 273 on your favorite podcast app, or listen on recruit-me.com. This interview is with Randy Merryman. Last week, we covered Randy's role as a baseball organization owner, Marucci Midwest in Ozark, Missouri, and we touched on his son's recruitment too. This episode, the discussion picks up with the question of, what advice as a dad would you give to both high school student athletes and their parents about the recruiting process? So let's pick up the interview in the dad's role, and then we will end up with questions about recruiting that Randy, the head baseball coach at Baptist Bible College, can help you with. Well, and playing on that, we kind of transitioned real fast to you as a dad. You gave some great advice there. What specific advice would you glean out of there that you would give to a high school student athlete about recruiting? And then what would you give to the family of a high schooler as a dad that just had a son recruited?
Really, the most important thing is, doing that self-evaluation to see, what you like, what you want, what are your hopes and dreams, not only on the baseball side, but the academic side and the social side, and trying to find where that mesh point is and that fit within a program. I think a lot of people, that they would take a walk-on spot at a Division I school because they think it's glamorous versus going someplace that maybe they can play. And so I think that, the process of doing some hard look in the mirror, self-evaluation, and then, connecting the dots to find what program's right is the most important piece.
We did that with Parker. He was a upper level Division II and probably would have played a lot at most of the Division IIs. And then he decided to challenge himself and go Division I. I kept asking him, I said, "Are you ready to sit the bench?" And so you have to get mentally prepared as a freshman a freshman in college to compete against 23, 24-year-olds. And that both of those decisions are correct. It just depends on whether you can mentally handle going from being the high school star to being a somebody that possibly sits on the bench their freshman, sophomore year. So what advice would you give to a family? What questions do they need to ask their student athlete as they go through the recruiting process?
I think they really need to they need to really kind of, have those honest conversations with the student about, what do you want to do academically? What do you want to do socially? And, how much work are you really willing to put into it? Everybody can say, I want to be a major leaguer, but not many people, have what it takes to get there. So if the kid says, I want to play Division I baseball, well, sure. I mean, most people want to play Division I baseball, but number one, are you talented enough to do it? If you are you willing to put in the work to do that? And then, what are you willing to do on the academic side and on the social side? Like I said, I think for some of these kids, there's such a small percentage of people that get to go to that Power 5 Division I type of level. I think the social side is really overlooked. And you see a lot of kids that, by the time their freshman fall is over, they're transferring out of that school. I mean, we see that time and time and time again. And I think most of it is that they put themselves in a situation to where the baseball was not good enough for them, or what they wanted out of it enough to keep them at the university or school that they're going to. So if they would have made maybe a better decision going into that, maybe they'd stick it out a little bit longer, but, for instance, I went to Central Methodist University. Anybody that's been to Fayette, Missouri, there's not a lot going on there. For me, I love the baseball piece so much that I didn't care that there was only one restaurant in town. I'd go to the cafeteria and eat and be perfectly content. Now, I had a little bit of an out because I could drive 25 minutes and I could go to Mizzou. I could watch a football game there. I could go have access to, a shopping mall or, more restaurants. But, some of those things are a little bit more important than people might think. And I think having all of the information for what the student wants is important.
Well, let's take off our owner and operator of Midwest, Marucci Midwest, and then our dad hat, and go to the college coach hat. So,
yeah,
Randy, what can a student athlete do besides just being a good player to get on a college coach's radar?
Well, again, at the different levels, if you just kind of cold randomly send an email to Dave Van Horn at Arkansas, he's going to delete it. If you send an email to Randy Merryman at Baptist Bible College, I'm going to read it because I need good players. I need kids that want to come and that would be a good fit for us. But a couple of things that I'm really seeing, in my first year as a head college coach is how important the academic side is. I came in, I recruited players. I was excited. We had an aggressive fall schedule, and I had 8 players that didn't meet the requirements by the NAIA for them to participate in the fall. And some of those were, that they use a 3-pronged approach for an incoming freshman to be eligible. And that is, did you graduate high school with a 2.0 grade point average? Did you have an 18 or higher on your ACT? And did you finish in the top 50% of your graduating class? Well, you have to have 2 out of those 3 to be eligible to participate in the fall. Well, a lot of those kids didn't reach that. And then having guys transfer in from different institutions, maybe they had a hard class. They were at junior college. They had a hard class. They dropped one, and they're not bringing in enough hours to be eligible. You have to pass 24 hours, in your last 2 semesters at a 2.0 to be eligible if you're a transfer student. So taking care of your academics is a huge plus, because I'm learning right now, as I'm recruiting guys, maybe to bring in at the semester or definitely to bring in next year. One of the first questions I'm asking these players right now, are you eligible? What have you done academically? Because I really can't afford to recruit people that aren't eligible to play. I'm not in a position to do that, and most colleges aren't either. So the academic side is super important. And then having, somebody that can vouch for you, somebody that's in your corner that can talk to college coaches on your behalf, that has a good reputation, that goes a long way as well. Because every kid that reaches out to me or that we recruit, I start digging. I start asking high school coaches or summer ball coaches or anybody that I can find out about that kid, because I want to make sure that when he gets to campus that he's a good fit for our culture and that he's going to be a good student.
You reach out to high school coaches, and high school coaches are super important, because high school coaches around here, I know, will tell you good or bad about the kid, because they want to, they're not going to stick their neck out for a kid that's not going to be a good student and be a good player for you. And so that's what I've always respected about our high school coaches around here.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I trust all the high school coaches I know. I trust them that what they're going to tell me is accurate. And, it's just funny. You try to build a college baseball program, and really the baseball side is the thing that I look at the least. I find a kid that, okay, I like this kid's swing. I like what he can do, but I have full confidence in myself and our coaching staff that we're going to help that guy to be a really good college player. But I need to know what the other things are. What is he bringing to the college or the university, that's not necessarily on the field. And, so it's very important to get that feedback from the high school coach or their club ball coach.
Randy, at your college, how many players will you carry, and about how many games will you play in the fall and the spring?
Yeah, I got the job in late March, so it was, a little bit behind the 8 ball. We ended up bringing in 24 players for this first year, and I felt pretty good about that, given the nature of when I got the job. I would prefer to have about 30, to be honest with you. The scrimmage situation is a little bit difficult. The depth is a little bit difficult with 24, and especially since we've got some not eligible to play. And so I would like to have 30. Ideally would be the right number for me. We played a little bit of an aggressive fall schedule that I probably won't do next year. And that was because with a new program, I really needed to see what we look like against outside competition. So we played 8 games this fall. for our level, we can play 55 games total in the fall and spring combined. We've got about 47 games that we can now play in the spring because we've used up 8 in the fall.
Looking at roster size and schedule, basically, if you're on your team, you're going to get to play at some point, because like you said, even with 30, you still don't have the huge depth that you're going to have a lot of guys just hanging onto the bench unless they're hurt. So that's a key thing that you can do in the research as a student athlete, is to kind of see how many kids are on a team, to see what opportunities you might get out on the field or the court or whatever sport you're playing.
Very, very important, and that's I'm sure you're going through that as a dad. I went through that as a dad. Very important to see, if that roster size is going to allow my kid to compete for a job. And, we played somebody this fall, BBC, we played somebody this fall, an NAI school. And I asked the coach, they had a ton of people in the dugout. And I asked the coach how many guys that they had on their baseball team this year. And the coach said 84. He was very candid with saying that they carry that many so they can fund their baseball program. And right. He was hoping to get a new baseball field built. Understanding, trying to do research, because I can promise you that of those 84 kids that were on that team, I bet the coach told all 84 they were going to have a chance to play. Those kids were there, and obviously, there's only 9, positions out there, and a bullpen, and maybe a couple pinch hitters. So it's certainly not going to get to 84. And I think it's very important for parents to get online, look at the rosters, find out how many they're going to keep, ask the coaches what their plan is for roster limitations. That's an important piece for people to find out.
Because every coach in every school can be different. So there are some coaches that do what you just explained, and there are some schools that they carry their 24 or their 30 and give everybody an opportunity to play. I think I had a coach tell me one time, said, I don't get paid to coach 50 kids. I get paid to win ball games. So if I can do that with 24 to 30 kids, then that's what I do. So it is an important question to ask as a parent and as a student athlete. So one last question on the coaching side. So how do like tournaments and showcases and prospect camps and videos, how do they impact a high schooler's recruiting journey?
Oh, well, that's a wide net. And it really depends, on so many factors, but I definitely prefer to watch a kid play in a game and interact with his teammates and see how he, reacts to success or failure. On the game setting, I prefer that to a showcase setting, because I think ultimately those help win games more than, there's a lot of kids with similar exit velos and similar arm velos and similar 60 times, but I like to see how they interact on the field. So for me, if I, find out about a kid that I like, I prefer to go watch him play in a game. But some people are different. If you're a physical outlier, a kid that's, the 100-mile-an-hour exit velocity, the 90-mile-an-hour plus arm, or the, 6'6" or better 60 runner, you're an outlier. Sometimes a showcase is a better format to get you noticed, because, when a college coach goes to a showcase, he's looking for those numbers that are kind of off the chart. So that might be a way to get your foot in the door, but most kids are not those outliers like that. And so I think it's better that, if they have interest in a college and they're communicating with a college, that they let that college know what their high school schedule is and what their summer schedule is.
That's great advice. And I know you've got to get back to work here. Probably. I'm not sure if it's work as a dad, as a owner operator, or as a coach, but we'll let you get back here. But just real quickly, what's maybe one or two little pieces of advice that maybe we didn't cover here that we can pass along to our Recruit Me families?
I get asked this some, when I'm talking to people, and after doing this for a long time, this is my 25th year in coaching, and being able to be around some of the highest level players, that have played Major League Baseball, to some kid who's, grinding it out at a D2 JUCO and everything in between is, I used to really think that talent superseded everything. But over the years, I've got to figure out that don't overlook the love of the game, a true passion for kids that, that a kid has that wants to play, because those guys are the ones that stick it out a little bit longer. I've had guys that I've thought, this guy's a can't miss MLB all-star, but once they get in the grind of minor league baseball or college baseball, they quit. And you come to find out they just didn't love it. They were just doing it because they were pretty good at it. that kid that just has that joy when he comes to the baseball field, the kid that's constantly asking mom or dad, hey, can we go up to the field and take ground balls? Can we go and hit? Can we do those things? That guy, man, I really believe that guy plays baseball a lot longer than most people. The kid that's willing to go grind it out at whatever level and just play because he loves playing. That's something that, if that kid's got that spark, I'm going to take a chance on that kid. But, on the flip side, if the parent knows or the kid knows, yeah, I don't really love it, I could take it or leave it, I just happen to be pretty good at it, it's probably going to be a short career after high school for that person.
Well, we've seen that happen, and that's why we talk about a lot of this stuff, because I do want to hopefully mentally prepare kids for the college level, because things do get faster and harder as you go to the college level. And if they've never heard that before, then it becomes a big surprise. So we want them to not only get an opportunity to play the sport that they love, get some education paid for, but we want them to have a good experience as they play their sport in college. So, Randy, I sure appreciate your time, and we're going to let you go, and hopefully we can have you back on again sometime.
All right, Brent, I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you to Randy for taking time away from all his duties. You can take Randy's advice, and it will help you in any sport. Advice from this episode can help you with your relationship with your club team coaches too. The Recruit Me 3.0 Athletic Scholarship System has a 200-plus page downloadable manual, and this week we are covering Appendix F, which is how to study and make the most of your time, and specifically essay examinations. Essay examinations. Planning your time and answering essay questions is more important than in objective type tests. The general rule is not to get carried away on one or two questions to the extent that you cannot answer the other questions in the time allowed. Read through the entire examination first. Get a feel for questions that you're expected to answer. If the exam allows you to choose from a number of questions, be sure to number your answers exactly to match the questions. When you follow directions for an essay exam, pay attention to the key words the instructor has included. Such words as list, describe, compare and contrast, and outline have a special meaning. Don't write around the question, but answer it directly. If a question asks you to list something, don't write a narrative about it. Answering essay questions directly is always the best policy. After scanning the list of questions to be answered, choose the ones you know most about. A good idea is to prepare an outline of your answers. The outline will help you remember important ideas and facts to be included in your response. Another technique is to do a memory dump. This technique is discussed in the last section of this guide, Power Study Tips. Good handwriting is absolutely essential. If your cursive writing is very hard to read, try printing instead. Most instructors value clear handwriting. Grammar, punctuation, and spelling also count. Well-written, grammatically correct answers almost always receive higher grades than poorly written, grammatically incorrect answers, even though the answers themselves are the same. Next week, I will cover writing themes and reports. You can get this manual, a workbook, and videos that give you step-by-step instructions to help you get that athletic scholarship. Go to recruit-me.com/system and click on the Get Access button to take advantage of the fall special of only $99. Thank you for listening, and join me next week on the Athletic Scholarship Podcast.